G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this really pretty scarf. This yarn is just so pretty and I think that the edging on this scarf makes it even better. You could also use it as a shawl. There will be some photos inserted so you can see it in different ways to wear it. This is an easy pattern. It's not as hard as what it looks. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started on the lesson. So for our supplies we're going to need some yarn. In the solid blue one I used the Red Heart Super Saver in the turquoise. And in the other one I'm using Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable. I used a size 5mm or an eye size hook for the solid blue, and I'm going to be using the same size crochet hook for. We can also use an optional smaller crochet hook for the edging. On my solid blue colour, on my Super Saver one, I use the same size crochet hook as I did for the scarf section, but on the Unforgettable yarn I'm going to drop down to a smaller crochet hook. I think it's going to make the border look prettier and it won't be as loose, so that's what you can do. I think this is really pretty, so I'm really excited to see how it's going to turn out. So we're also going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a yarn needle with a large eye and a stitch marker. Now this is quite important for this project. You can use a piece of yarn that you can tie on. You can use a hair clip, which I have just here. You could use something like that, just something that you can tie on. It's not to count stitches, it's just to remind you on what side of the shawl that you're going to be doing your increases or your decreases. If you've got a really good memory you probably won't need it, but trust me, I needed it and it did come in very handy because you didn't have to look at the stitches, you just looked for the stitch marker and it was a lot easier to do. So first of all I'm going to pop this aside. So the yarn I'm using, it is 100% acrylic and you can wash it in cold water. It says gentle cycle, but I think I would hand wash it depending on what you've made with it. And it also recommends a 6mm, just here, a 6mm crochet hook, but I'm using a 5.5. So what we need to do is start with a slip knot. You can make this however you like. Oh, for this project you could do that and do a chain 4 and join, but you can also do a magic ring. So I think I will use the magic ring. It's a bit too close. I think that will work really well for this project. So what we need to do is chain 3 and then work 2 double crochet into the ring. Just going to pull that. What we need to do now is turn our work around, and on this part you can use a chain 3 to go up to your next row of double crochet, but I'm going to use a single crochet chain 1, and this just makes it have a nicer edge. It doesn't have these really big holes when you go up the edge and you're doing up your chain 3. If you've got another way that you do on the end of your rows, by all means use that, but I'm going to use a single crochet chain 1. So into the first stitch, going to go into that stitch and single crochet, chain 1. Now this is the increase side of our work. We only increase on one side of our work. So into that same stitch we're going to work a double crochet, so double crochet into there, Into the next 2 stitches, because we've got one here and then one there, we're going to work 1 double crochet, and into the last stitch we're going to work a double crochet. So we have 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and the first one counts as our single crochet chain 1 counts as our first stitch. So now we're going to turn our work around. Into the first stitch we're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and this row we are not going to do any increasing because we only do that every second row. So we need to do a double crochet in the next stitch, so not in that same one like we did before, into the next one, and then into the next couple of stitches. So also into the chain 1 space. I'm going to grab my needle here somewhere. See in here, you're going to get 2 loops on the top. That's where we're going to put our crochet hook for our double crochet stitch, if you're using that single crochet chain 1 method. Turn our work around, and now we're going to do the increasing. So grab your stitch marker that you had, double checking to make sure we are on the increasing side, yes. And on the side that we've got our work here, we're going to add our stitch marker. Doesn't matter where you put it, just on that side somewhere. And this is going to remind us that we have to increase every time we come back to that side. And in between we won't have an increase row. We'll have no increases on that row, but in every second time we need to put increase in. So this is our increase row, so it's single crochet, get with the program, single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet across. First of all we need to do double crochet in the same stitch and in each stitch across. This is the first time I've filmed in over 8 weeks because I've been looking after my mum, and as you can see I'm actually quite nervous, which is really weird because aren't I supposed to be the expert or something? So crochet across. This yarn is quite slippery too. I'm going to blame it on the yarn, it's not me. Alrighty, so into that last stitch going to work a double crochet, and I've also just got over a cold. I've had a really bad cough and my voice is still a little bit weird. I don't know if you can tell on the video, but so in the row below we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and now we should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So now we turn our work around. We single crochet in the first stitch, we chain 1, and because we did our increase on that previous row, now this one's a row with no increasing, and also because there's no stitch marker on this side, so we know that this first stitch isn't an increase, it's just a normal row. Into that last stitch, which is actually the chain 1 from the row below. Going to work that double crochet, turn our work around, and our stitch marker's on this side, so we need to do our increase. So it's single crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, double crochet in the same stitch, double crochet in each stitch across. So there is a written pattern that goes with this, and that is located on my website. The link below will take you there. It's in the description box. It could be on the side depending on what kind of device you're watching this video on. So let's double crochet in the last one. Turn our work around. So there's no stitch marker on this side. So we know that we don't need to do a increase. So single crochet in the first stitch. Chain one, double crochet in each stitch across. This is my first time using this yarn as well, so this will be exciting. Never used it before. I've had it for quite a while, but just haven't got around to using it. So into that last one, turn your work around. And of course our stitch marker is on this side, so we know it's an increase. I'm going to move this up. I found if I left it too long, did too many rows, that I kept forgetting. So if it's right in your face, it's going to remind you to do that increase. So continue along. My stitch marker's there, so I've got my increase here, and then it skipped a row, and then here. Skipped a row, so my next row is an increase row. Continue on alternating those two rows until we get as many rows as we need. Now on my Red Heart Super Saver, the solid blue one, I used 44 rows. This one I'm not quite sure yet because I've never used this yarn, so in just a moment I'll come back when I've finished my rows and I can tell you how many that I've done. This yarn may work up slightly different because it's a different yarn, and I'm not sure on the width that I want to make this one or the length, so I can let you know in just a moment. So stay tuned and I will be back with the finished rows that I need for this section of the project. Okay, so as you can see from my photo, I've already continued on. I had some spare time last night and I thought it was a great time to get some work done on this scarf, but don't panic, I'm going to show you what to do. So as you can see, from the point over here to this little stitch marker there, there's a stitch marker here, the white thing, that is 55 rows. Now on the Red Heart Super Saver yarn I only used about 44 rows. And what you're going to do when you get to the length that you want that section, we're going to create a middle section here, and I've done 16 rows. There's two stitch markers. Let me see if I can zoom in more. There's a stitch marker here and a stitch marker there. All that section in between, there's no increasing at all. So this part here is all a straight section, and then from that stitch marker on I've decreased, and that will start making the other side like what we did, but on this one we have to decrease. So I'm going to show you what to do for this middle section here, and then I'll show you what to do for the bit that tapers down to the other side. So this is my little section I've just whipped up. So let's pretend this is our scarf. So this section down here will be a lot longer on your piece. So what we've got here, this is where our stitch marker is, and it's on our increase side because we've got the first stitch and then the second stitch into that same stitch here. We've got two. So after we've got the width that we want, mine was 8.5 inches across. Of course you can do yours any width that you like. Then we're going to do a section of no increasing at all. So I'm sure you know what to do, but I'll just show you anyway. Into the first stitch we're going to do a single crochet chain 1, or the chain 3 or chain 2, whatever you're using for this part. And then in each stitch across we are going to do double crochet in every stitch. So for the next 15 rows or so we're not going to be making any increase at all. We're just doing double crochet. So I've crocheted all the way across, just doing one in each stitch. You're going to turn around and then we're going to do our starting stitch and then double crochet across. And like I said, I did this for 15 rows. On the one I used the Red Heart Unforgettable, which by the way I'm really loving. It's so pretty the way it's changing colour. Okay, so we're just going to complete that for as many rows that you like, or what I said before, like 15 rows. What we need to do now is, when we finish our row, so the row that we're doing now, when we finish the last one of these, what it needs to be is you need to finish on this end. So we're going to finish on the end that is opposite our stitch marker. So I'm just going to go across there off camera, and I'll meet you when you have finished all of the rows that you need to do. Like I said, 15 or the amount that you want to, but you need to finish over on this side away from your stitch marker, which is over here. Okay, so I've just finished on that end here. Zoom out a bit. And what we need to do is this next row, so we can turn our work around, this next row is going to be our decrease row. So this is going to make the end of our shawl or scarf, it's going to make it taper down to the point like we did, like the one that we've got on this other end. And I'll tell you what, this sample is a lot easier to fit in front of the camera than the big scarf is. Trust me on that one. So this decrease row, we're going to be doing the opposite of what we did when we did our increase row. So on our increase row, we did our increase here. What we're going to do on this one is we're going to do our decrease on the end here. So it's still on the side with the stitch marker, so you still need to move that up. And it's a lot easier to do the decrease on these end stitches than it is to do it at the beginning. It doesn't really work at the beginning. So we're going to be doing our decrease at the end. So do the beginning as normal. So just your chain 3, chain 2, or whatever you're doing. Double crochet across. Until we get to the last 2 stitches. So when we get to the end, we've got 2 stitches left, the double crochet, and then I've got the top of the chain 1. And we're going to do a decrease stitch. It's slightly different to a double crochet, and I'll show you how to do it just in case you don't know how to. So into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop like normal, yarn over, pull through 2 like normal, but we're going to leave the 2 loops on the crochet hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all those 3 stitches that are on your hook. And what that's done is made these 2 stitches become 1 stitch. We're going to turn our work around. Into the first stitch, we're going to do whatever we do. So your single crochet or your chain 2 or 3. Then we're going to work a normal row. So this is just no decreasing at all. So just double crochet all the way across. So continue on. So I've just finished my double crocheted all the way across. And then what we're going to do is, because we've got our stitch marker on this side, we're going to double crochet all the way across, and then we're going to decrease in those last 2 stitches like we did before. So I'll just crochet across and then I'll show you that decrease once again. In our last 2 stitches, so it's a double crochet and the chain 1, we're going to work the decrease. So yarning over, going into the stitch pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, leave these 2 loops, yarn over, go into the top of the chain, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3. So yarn over and pull through all 3. And what we're going to do is going to alternate those 2 rows. So one row of just straight double crochet all the way across, and then the next row it's a decrease at the end. And remember, it's the ends where we have our stitch marker. This stitch marker becomes your best friend in this project, let me tell you that, because it will remind you when to do your increase in the first section and your decrease in this second section. So now I'm going to continue on. I can continue on with my scarf now because this is where I was up to. I was in my decrease rows. And you're just going to keep going until we have 3 stitches left, because that's what we started with, so we want the end to look the same as the other end. And then after that, it's time to start that really exciting border, and it's really easier than what you think it's going to be. Okay, so happy crocheting until we get to the end of our scarf. So after my whole scarf, I've only got 20 grams left of a 100-gram ball, and this is what the end of mine looks like. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work down the side with the increasing or the decreasing. So once we get to the ends, we have 3 stitches left. You won't cut off your yarn. I had to cut it off because I had to rip some stitches out, and then I got myself into a knot, so I had to cut mine. But yours will still be attached if you're using the same colour for the border. If you want to change colour, by all means, you'll need to change your yarn. So what we need to do is chain 10. And I've also switched to my smaller crochet hook. Into the 4th chain from the crochet hook, 1, 2, 3 and 4, we're going to work a slip stitch. And into that ring we're going to work 15 single crochets. See how the chain is at the back here? We're going to work to the left hand side of the chain. So the chain is there. Then we're going to work to the side of the chain. See what I mean? How the chain's up here, we're working over this side. We're going to work 15 single crochets into the middle of that ring. So we've got this little ring here. So work your 15 single crochets in there. We're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet. So it's just joining up that circle. I'm going to chain 6. And into the side where our stitch marker is, so it'll be where you did your increasing and decreasing on that side, we're going to work a slip stitch. Now just for this row it'll be slightly different, but for the next ones on it'll be the same. So we've got our 3 stitches on the end, 1, 2 and 3, that's our last row. What we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in between the last and the second last stitch of that row. So go into there with your crochet hook and work a slip stitch. So that's what it looks like. You're gonna not have these tails if you've used the same colour. So again we want to chain 10. Into the 4th chain from the crochet hook. I'm going to work a slip stitch. Into the centre of the ring, I'm going to work 15 single crochet. You could work more or less, it's completely up to you in this bit. This bit doesn't matter, you can work as many as you like, so I'm going to do 15. When we get back around, we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet. Then we're going to chain 6. We're going to go back to our side with our stitch marker. We're going to find the next row. So we've done that row. Next row down, and in the space between the last and second last stitch, I'm going to work a slip stitch. Those ends are really annoying me. I should have sewn them in. So there we go. That's what it's going to look like. You're going to have these dangly bits. And what you can do, and what I did do on my blue one, my solid blue one, what I did is I went into, let's see, we've got a needle. So I went into the space between the two last stitches. So you would have gone in there, and then you would have gone in here as well. But what I actually did was went into there and that space. So I actually had 2 per row. This way we're going to have 1 per row. But what I actually did, so when I turned it sideways, I went into the gap here, into this little loop here, and also into that gap. And that gave it a really full border. But for this one I'm going to change it up, and I'm only going to do it into the end of each row. So only where my fingers are sticking out. If I did it the way I did my solid blue one, I also would have gone into that hole there. So see that hole in the middle here? That's where I would have gone. But for this version I'm just going to go into these 2 holes here. So continue on making your loops and circles and carry all the way down. I only do it on one edge, so the straight edge we leave blank, and the bit where the increases and the decreases are, we are going to excuse me, we're going to be making our edging. So I'll meet up with you when we have finished our edging. I finished mine all the way to the end. When I got to the end, on the tips I have done, we've got our 3 stitches there, and I've done 1 into that last stitch, but also right on the end of the scarf I have as well. So if you can put that the right way. So I've got 3 stitches at the beginning, I've got 1 in the end, and then there's 1 on the tip on the other end as well. So that's mine finished. I've actually sewn in my ends already. I had time to do that last night, so I was doing that. I think this looks really, really cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please share your creations on our Facebook page and also our Google+. Let me know what colour you're going to use. This Unforgettable yarn is just so, so pretty. I'm really a fan of this. I love how the colour changes go. Don't forget to check out the newsletter on my website. I'll put all the links that you need in the description box. It's bobwilson.org. And I hope you are having a great week. It is Monday here, so it's straight into work for me. Like I said, thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet.